Hello and welcome to the Golden Sports Report, episode 76. I'm Andy,
And I'm Dylan.
and today we're going to talk about the NFL and probably baseball, as it's just us two running the show tonight. First, we're going to talk about the Bills and Kiko Alonso's torn ACL and Josh Gordon and his mishaps in Cleveland. And, baseball, the All Star teams were announced, and I raised my eyebrows at some. I was like, wow, that guy probably shouldn't be there. So we'll talk about that too. Um, first, first we're gonna talk about Kiko because that hits local. Torn ACL training in Oregon, where he grew up and where he went to college, and he's out for all of 2014 unless you make the Super Bowl. Then he might come back, but even with Kiko, it was a long shot. Um, Dylan, as the optimistic Bills fan you are, how do you feel about Kiko Alonso's injury, and what do you think the Bills should do about it going forward?
Well, regardless of how optimistic I usually am, I mean, it's obviously a big loss for our defense. He had a great rookie season, and we expected big things. I know I'm not the only person, but a lot of people believe that within the next couple of years, he could have been one of the top couple linebackers in the NFL. And this is surely going to impact his progression and our team. We did bring in Spikes as a linebacker, and we were moving him to the we were moving Kiko to the outside. So we brought in a good linebacker, but we're losing Kiko. In terms, I've heard the Bills people. I don't remember who said it exactly, but there's the belief around there that they don't need to trade or bring in an outside someone from outside the organization to fill the void. So apparently they feel comfortable enough with what we have. I'm sure Jim Schwartz was excited to have Kiko on his defense, but now we're going to have to move forward without that. He's a good defensive coordinator. I'm sure they'll get it figured out, but it's definitely a tough loss to overcome. In terms of a solution, I'm sure that Keith Rivers and Brandon Spikes will start at linebacker. In terms of the other guy, I really don't know. We have Nigel Bradham. We have There's a lot of other guys currently on the rosters. I look at it on the Bills website, but as cuts come, I'm sure they won't all make it. The other thing we go looking at our defensive linemen, we already have Darius, Mario Williams, Kyle Williams, and and Manny Lawson. So maybe we Jerry Hughes can take that spot, and he's not going to put up as good a stats as we would expect from Kiko, I imagine, but maybe he'll be solid enough to fill the void. I doubt we would move Mario Williams back to linebacker because I think we're doing mostly a 4-3. But we could see some more 3-4 now to try to accommodate for the loss, and if they want to move back somebody like Lawson or Mario, then that could be an option. But big loss for the defense. I'm sure that Schwartz and Marone are working hard to try to accommodate the situation, and I'm sure it's going to be a big loss, but hopefully we can try to survive it. We don't have a first round pick next year, and so we can't afford this loss to hurt our defense too badly.
Doesn't that suck? The thought that our team may be absolutely terrible this year and we don't have a first round pick. Darn. It's a shame. Sammy Watkins came at a price. Um, Kiko Kiko Alonso should have won Defensive Rookie of the Year. I think that is to be assumed. And he was a great linebacker, great instincts, a little over aggressive, but his stats backed up his skill level. Excuse me, as a second round pick, everyone passed on him because he had off the field issues, and that kind of segues into our next topic. But he had off the field issues, came into the league, got straightened out, proved why he should have been a first round pick. And this is a real big loss for the Bills. Um, I remember when Takeo Spikes like 10 years ago tore his ACL or Achilles and it slowed him down. Thing happened to Sean Merriman, slowed him down, pretty much ruined his career. Could have been steroids too with that, but the ACL doesn't help. But we also saw AP come back from an ACL tear and do even better than he was before it. RG3, not the same player. This is an injury that, it's almost 50-50 on if he's going to be the same player when he comes back. And we can only hope that he is. But for right now, the Bills don't have anybody on their roster, in my opinion, that can even give us close to the impact Kiko did. I've seen Preston Brown's name thrown around, our third round pick out of Louisville, that we kind of questioned. Oh, we don't need a linebacker. Oh, well, I question why we got a linebacker, but good thing we got a damn linebacker, because apparently they've been running him a little bit on the outside. They've been running Bradham. I think Bradham might be a little too slow, but he is the most experienced in the defense out of all the linebackers available on our team. People are wondering where Manny Lawson will fit in. Dylan mentioned him and Jerry Hughes. I feel like Lawson, the only way he can make a spot on this team is possibly filling in for Kiko. He's a little bigger than I would like, a little slower, but that's what you get when you get a defensive lineman. It's an outside linebacker, especially in a 4-3. In a 4-3, you want quicker linebackers. And, yeah, so I don't know. If Preston Brown turns out, I guess you can use him. It's a shame we don't have our first round pick because this year doesn't look very bright after this. When you're playing teams like Green Bay and Chicago and, New England and Denver, those are teams that I think are going to put were a tough team to beat in the first place, let alone now. How tough it's going to be to beat them without your best defensive player. Lost Jarius Byrd, but that's a whole nother thing. We're probably going to start covering positions and the outlook on the training camp in the Bills going forward into this season, who we think might get cut, any surprises, things like that. Talk about the divisions, kind of giving you a inside track on what's going to happen in our upcoming episodes. So yeah. And with that, we'll segue into our next topic, which is Josh Gordon. Josh Gordon. He's had quite the history as a player that likes to get into trouble. I believe he has 2 or 3. Well, actually, let's start with this. The only reason he didn't get drafted in the NFL draft was because he had gotten suspended at Baylor and got thrown into the supplemental draft. Goes to the supplemental draft, has a 1-year suspension before he even touches the field. Touches the field, gets like a 4-game suspension last year. Gets in trouble again this offseason to start. Gets a 1-year suspension and has been thrown, well, not thrown into jail, but has had 2 more incidents under this 1-year suspension. Dylan, what's wrong with Josh Gordon? I know it's a hard thing to answer, but how do you think this affects Cleveland? Do you think it affects Johnny Manziel at all? How does this affect Cleveland? And if you were Cleveland, what would you do with Josh Gordon?
Well, it's it's a tough situation because I mean last year we saw even though he missed a couple games, he still I believe he still led the NFL in receiving yards. And so we've seen that he's very talented, but as we've noted before with previous players, I know Chris had a streak of talking about athletes doing dumb things, and but I mean he was already facing some sort of suspension this year for violating the drug policy or whatever, and then now he gets pulled over for DWI, and so I mean something has to be done. I don't know if he will be suspended this year or for how long or anything. I haven't heard much about that lately. But I mean, you have to think that some sort of disciplinary action would be taken or at least looked into. And I mean, if I'm the Browns, you really have to think like I'm sure like they just hired Mike Patton and he seems like a no nonsense coach. He would be a bit I don't want to say strict, but like he's a tough coach. And I mean, they got to tell. I don't think they get rid of Josh Gordon right now, but they need to talk to him and be like, you screw up one more time, then we don't care how good you are, you're gone. Because then, if the Browns were to release him, I'm sure there'd be plenty of rumors of who would try to pick him up, but a lot of teams would say don't even bother because there's too much wrong off the field. And I mean, he's if he could have just stayed out of trouble, he probably could have been really productive this year. Johnny Manziel or Brian Hoyer would be throwing to him, and with maybe a healthy Brian Hoyer or Johnny Manziel, when most of his production came from Brandon Weeden and Jason Campbell last season. So he would be with a better quarterback most likely, and he's sort of just throwing his opportunity to be really good away, and it's a shame, but so I think if I was the Browns, I don't think I'd get rid of him just yet, but I'd try to keep a close eye on him and let him know that he needs to get his priorities in order or else he's not going to have a job soon.
Yeah, him and Justin Blackman, they seem to be very similar in their acts of stupidity. I looked up Josh Gordon's wiki page to give you kind of a run through of his history. In July of 2011, Gordon was suspended indefinitely by his head coach at Baylor for failing a drug test and testing positive for marijuana. Actually, no, wait, that's not even the start. That's not even the start. In October 2010, during his sophomore year, he and teammate Willie Jefferson were found asleep at a local Taco Bell. Police found marijuana in Jefferson's car. Jefferson was driving, was kicked off the team due to it being his second violation, but Gordon was only suspended. So in 2010, Gordon was suspended. In 2011, I just read, he was suspended and kicked off the football team for a failed drug test. And in 2011, he applied for the supplemental draft. Uh, on June 7th, 2013, the NFL announced that Gordon would be suspended for the first two games of the season due to violating the NFL substance abuse policy, and that another would be a one-year suspension. On May 9th of this year, he failed a drug test and got suspended for the whole upcoming season. He's appealing it. However, it doesn't help that just what's today? So just yesterday, he was arrested for DWI in Raleigh, North Carolina. So that is his, I believe, fifth instance. His fifth instance in 4 years. That's unacceptable. A player's making millions of dollars and he's doing this. If I'm the Browns, I cut him right away. And it's too bad because he's a great football player, but he's dumb. He's dumb. A lot of people are like, oh, pro marijuana, pro marijuana. This has nothing to do with pro marijuana. Like, I've asked pot smokers, if someone's going to pay you $5 million a year not to smoke pot, would you smoke pot? No, obviously. You know why? Because you're not dumb. This guy's dumb. And he doesn't. If I'm Cleveland, I look at him not as a football player, but just as an individual, as an adult, his intellectual level. He is not somebody that belongs on the football field. And it's a shame. It's a real shame. They wasted, I believe, a second-round pick on him. Yes, a second-round pick they wasted on him. They got one good year out of him. Just imagine how good he could have done. He would have had 2,000 yards receiving last year if he had a decent quarterback and played those 2 games. But he's dumb. Yeah, I cut him. No doubt. No doubt. It's a shame. I think this does hurt the quarterback's development because now you double cover Jordan Cameron and say good game. I don't remember who their other wide receivers are, but it's like good luck. Good luck passing. Jordan Cameron's a great tight end. Well, not great. He's had one good year. I'm not going to say he's great. He's a good tight end, but they have no one else to throw to. They have no running game. Cleveland is screwed. Luckily, they have 2 good first-round picks next year because of this. Why? Why is that? Why is it, Dylan? Why does Cleveland have 2 good first-round picks next year?
Well, one of them will be good because the Browns will be bad. And the other one is the Buffalo's Bills pick, which we don't know if it'll be bad or not yet. You're just assuming because we lost Kiko. But, I mean, trying to stay optimistic here. Hopefully it won't be too bad of a pick. And we do face Cleveland this year, so, I mean, I'm interested to see what's the what blah, I can't talk anymore. What's a bigger loss, Josh Gordon to the Browns or Kiko Alonso to the Bills?
Hmm. That's tough. That's tough because you could try and sell the point that the Bills had a chance at being a decent football team this year, and that was thrown out the window, in my opinion. I know we just said I was assuming, but in my opinion, I think you lose a lot of that by Kiko's injury. But I look at Cleveland, and I didn't think Cleveland was going to do that well in the first place. Now they're going to do very bad, and for the future, that helps Cleveland. But I guess it hurts the Bills more than it hurts Cleveland because we don't have the first round pick. We don't have the future. If Kiko doesn't come back at 100%, we lose the future for the next 2 or 3 years. Whereas Cleveland can just draft another wide receiver. And I don't know if they lost too much in Cleveland by losing Gordon. Seeing as he wasn't even going to play, he hasn't been reliable anyway. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think the one part of it that hurts more, like we actually, we as Bills fans, we actually lost Kiko to an injury, whereas the Cleveland Browns lost Josh Gordon to his own stupidity, and they could have had a healthy receiver all year. An injury is not something you can avoid. A DUI is something you can easily avoid. So it's kind of different situations. Obviously, I can't say I expected much out of the Browns this year either, but I expected a big year from Kiko, to be completely honest, and that sucks. But in terms of Gordon, I googled it. He makes I can't see it anymore, but he makes 600 something thousand, like $630,000 salary right now. And had this off the field stuff not come up and he put up a productive year this year, he could have got a big multi-million-dollar extension, and doesn't look like that's happening anymore.
No, I wouldn't. He's lucky if he finds a football team when he comes off of. Well, I think he'll find a football team when he comes off the suspension because he is so young. But I don't think he'll have much of a chance if he shows any signs of anything. They're going to kick him out. The only team that I think could take him is Seattle because it's legal to smoke pot there, but it's not legal to smoke pot in the NFL in Seattle. Did you see the Dante Whitner comments this week or no?
I did not. I heard something about him, but I didn't. I never saw exactly what was said.
All right, I'll give a background and we'll kind of see what your thoughts are. So, Daryl Talley's wife talked shit to Dante Whitner, saying that he was nicknamed Toast not because of champagne, but because he got burned every play. And then he started talking major shit about Buffalo and its fans, saying that he hopes Buffalo gets moved, talking shit to us, telling us, oh, well, at least Cleveland's going to have a football team. Why does Buffalo have a football team? It shouldn't have a football team. The fans suck. Then Aaron Williams comes to the defense of Buffalo and says, I wake up in the morning and all I see is Dante Whitner talking shit. Like, he was like, don't worry, Bills Mafia. He's all talk. He's all talk. And um, then Whitner said, well, at least I look at my Pro Bowls. Look at my Pro Bowls. And Aaron Williams is like, well, congratulations, you made a popularity contest. Good job. Like, he completely called out the Pro Bowl and said it's a popularity contest, and I like that as a player being like, that means nothing. And he also mentioned, Dante Whitner also mentioned, like, talking to one of the Cleveland fans, talking shit about Bills players, being like, how does it feel to be on a team that went 0-4 in the Super Bowl? And I want to think to myself, well, Dante Whitner, you don't have any Super Bowls either. And you're 0-1. So, go fuck yourself, Dante Whitner. Fuck you. Dylan, what's your opinion on Dante Whitner?
I mean, this isn't anything like you want to see people say. He played in Buffalo, we all know. But I mean, he's talking about the team moving, and I don't think that's going to happen. He's talking about insulting the city, but I mean, we talked last episode about how I know it's a different sport, but how many people came to the Sabres and were excited to be back or coming to Buffalo to live and have their career here. So, I mean, there's two sides to the coin. He's just upset because he's on Cleveland and they're bad, and that's understandable. But I mean, we, in my opinion, Buffalo. I think Buffalo is a great place, and Matt Molson and Gianta seem to agree. Cody McCormick's excited to be back. I wish I had a football example to say, but I know Aaron Williams is defending us. I think the team is going to stay here. We have the best fans in the NFL. I apologize to any non-Bills fans watching, but I believe it is true. So, I don't know. I wouldn't think too much into what Whitner's saying. Hopefully, now when we face the Browns, more so than, like, obviously I always want the Bills to win, but more so than before, I hope we just, like, destroy the Browns. Hope he misses a bunch of tackles, 400-yard passing, 200 rushing. But I don't know. It's it is what it is, but um, I will see. I think he doesn't gain anything out of saying this, but whatever. We'll see what happens.
He's a bitch. Fuck him. Fuck Dante Whitner. Thinks they can talk all that crap, but he his own one. We gave him his opportunity in the NFL, and to be quite honest, he couldn't cover a tight end, and that's why we had to get rid of him. He can't cover tight ends at all. We're going to find that out when he has to go against Tyler Eifert and Dennis Pitta, and might have to play Rob Gronkowski again. That'll be scary for him because one thing I know for certain, Rob Gronkowski makes Dante Whitner want to shit himself because he can't cover him.
I noticed.
Yes.
As I said, I noticed. I went to his Wikipedia page just to look a little bit, and you mentioned how he was talking about his Pro Bowls, and I expected him to be in a couple. He's only been to two Pro Bowls, 2012 and 2013, when he played in San Francisco with one of the best defenses in the league around him. So he's playing for a big market team on a really good defense. I don't know what his stats, if his stats suggested or anything to, but it doesn't appear to me. The 2 years he made the Pro Bowl in San Francisco weren't any better than any of his years in Buffalo, it seems to me. It's not like he remarkably improved.
All right, I'm gonna have to say why he made the Pro Bowl in terms of reasons why he may have made it. Because the one thing Dante Whitner did was he backed up his stats on his Twitter, and pulled up a Pro Football Outsiders link, and he was ranked third in coverage out of all safeties in the NFL. I still think he can't cover. He didn't have to cover a tight end in the NFC West. Can you name a tight end from the NFC West? No. The only one is on his team. I'm sure he gets torn up in practice all practice long. But I guess he was third in pass coverage. So that's why he made it. However, Aaron Williams is right. It's a popularity contest. So, yeah. He also felt that he should have been in the top 100 and said, "Oh, the NFL Network screwed me," blah, blah, blah. And the NFL Network's like, "Well, players kind of vote on these. Like the players wouldn't do that. My San Francisco locker room knew I was the best safety in the league. They would have voted for me. They wouldn't have done me like that." It's like, no, they did you like that because you sucked in practice against real football players. So screw you. You can't win a Super Bowl. Guy's on Cleveland and acts like he's gonna win. He's gonna be lucky if he wins more games than Buffalo. Oh, and he also threatened Sammy Watkins. I remember that. So, he's like, "You know why they give me my name?" Honestly, I haven't seen you hit anybody. So, there you go. There's a rant. It got us about 5-10 minutes closer. Our next topic is something that we rarely cover, which is baseball. And yeah, so the All-Star Games teams were announced, which means we'll probably cover baseball in an upcoming episode again as a halfway point of the season so far. So, Dylan gave me the links here. Dylan, I'm sure you've looked at it thoroughly. You looked at it before the show. I'm sure, even before you showed me, right?
Yeah.
All right, we'll go with the NL first because I told you pre-show I was going to ask you this. Your favorite player in the league, the player you will not trade for anything, not even Yasiel Puig, who made the starting lineup. Why is your boy Giancarlo Stanton not in the starting lineup?
It's it's a I don't it's a tough well it's voted on by the fans, so I guess we can attribute it to the fan vote. I know he was really close, I think, with Puig there at the end in the voting, but it looks like Puig edged him out for the starting spot. Um, I think Stanton's obviously he's one of my favorite players, and but I mean I'm not gonna blame the fans for voting in Andrew McCutchen. I don't blame them for voting in McCutchen, Gomez, or Puig. But to be honest, I would take Stanton in my outfield over I don't want to say any of those three because McCutchen has won MVP last year. Obviously, he's great, but I would take Stanton over Puig or Gomez any day of the week. And then, in my opinion, he's clearly the best of the four outfielder reserves in the NL. So I don't know. I would have liked to see him get a starting spot, but I'm sure he'll see time in the game, regardless. He's just not wasn't voted as a starter. He's going to be in the home run derby, and he's probably going to be amazing in it, in my opinion. Um, so I look forward to seeing him in that. He will. I mean, there's so many players selected to an all-star team in baseball, and they try to get as many players as they can to see the field. So being voted in as a starter, yeah, it's great, but you probably don't end up with a lot more time than the couple of reserves. Probably only maybe a couple more innings, but it's about it.
To be honest, uh, I think from what Dylan says and from what the stats show, Stan is a great baseball player. Carlos Gomez, it's weird because, Carlos Gomez is in Milwaukee, and for some reason, he got voted in over Giancarlo Stanton, which means Miami's fans are never there, and that's true. They are never there. They have an empty new stadium. So, that's the thing. Um, should have been there. Should have been there. He got snubbed out of the starting lineup. Freddie Freeman is a reserve, too. But when you're up against a guy like Paul Goldschmidt, you usually don't win. Um, any snubs that you saw in the NL that anybody that surprised you that they're on it, and anybody surprised you that they weren't on it?
Um, well, to be completely honest, I was a little bit surprised to see Aramis Ramirez starting at third, but the other two third basemen are Matt Carpenter and Todd Frazier. I don't know what other NL third baseman there are that would. I know I'm a big fan of Nolan Arenado, but he's been on the DL for a really long time, so it's understandable that he didn't get the votes during that span. And so I was surprised to see Ramirez there. I'm not surprised by Molina, Goldschmidt, Tulowitzki, or those other guys. But one thing I noticed that I thought was weird that I found in the uh, pitching section is there's a little star next to Julio Teheran's name, and it says replacement for Jeff Samardzija, who was recently traded to Oakland. So Jeff Samardzija was voted to the All-Star game in the NL, traded to the AL, and now he doesn't get to be in the game because the AL roster is full, I guess, because he's not on the AL roster page. So I don't know if he'll come if somebody else is injured will go out and he'll come on and in the roster spot. I hope so because he earned the chance to play in the game and then just by chance he got traded to the other league and now I'm sure the fans who voted for him still would like to see him in the game even if he's not representing their team anymore. He's a great pitcher. So I think that could be an interesting situation, whether that he ends up getting in later to take over for someone with the injury, or if he becomes a snub just due to the fact that he was traded. And, and I was surprised Josh Harrison in the outfielder reserves. Honestly, I barely know who he is. So I know he's an outfielder for the Pittsburgh Pirates, but I didn't know he was all-star caliber. I had no idea. And then, but in terms of the other guys, I mean, D. Gordon's doing well. Freddie Freeman, Castro's having a great year. Lucroy Mesoraco was the catcher reserves. So I think, other than Aramis Ramirez and the Julio Teheran Samardzija situation, I think I'm not overly surprised by any people.
Oh, Chris came into baseball talk,
Wow.
and that might be awkward for him.
Sorry, I'm late.
It's all right. I heard you had a great time.
Yeah, we witnessed the fight. It was fun.
That link that he posted is what we're going to talk about next. It's the MLB announced their All-Star teams, and well, so we're kind of talking about the snubs or who kind of doesn't belong there.
Okay.
Yeah. For me in the NL, we're talking about the NL first. Mesoraco, my boy, I picked him up in free agency in fantasy baseball, and he had a great start, got injured, and everyone was like, oh, well, he's not going to keep it up. He's an all-star. Screw you guys for saying that Mesoraco wasn't a good catcher. Buster Posey. There we go. Where is Buster Posey on here? Buster is not here. You know, I see guys like Tyson Ross on here. He's garbage. Like, what? Why is he here? For relief? He wasn't a relief pitcher. There should be a limit on these things where, whoa, this guy doesn't belong even close to an all-star game. And the funny part about your Josh Harrison thing is, it's not like he got voted in. The MLB chose him. The reserves, I don't think, are voted on, are they?
I have no idea, to be completely honest.
Like, if they're not voted on, Josh Harrison made it because they thought he was good. Dude is not good. I think he's still on free agency in the league. Pat Neshek, I don't know who he is.
Relief
K-Rod
pitcher.
made it. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Some of these guys, Freddie Freeman, great player. Can't believe Carlos Gomez made it as a starter. Milwaukee. All right. Talking about the AL now. I'll give Chris time to continue to look it over. Dylan, what's your opinion on the AL?
Well, I'm not overly surprised by a ton of the people voted in. I know this one says Sale Perez is starting in place of Matt Wieters, another player that Andy has in fantasy who is out for the year. So there's that. Miguel Cabrera, easy choice. Cano is he did start off a little bit slow, but he's picking it up. I think he still earns the spot. Donaldson's having a great year in Oakland. Derek Jeter, he's Derek Jeter, and it's his final season. You can't not vote him into the league. I mean, into the All-Star game. So obviously he's starting. He's a fan favorite. Even if you're not a Yankees fan, you have to like Derek Jeter, I think. And then Bautista, Trout, Jones, Nelson Cruz. Uh, Not hard decisions. I was surprised by Dylan Betances. I am a Yankees fan, and he is a New York Yankee. He was formerly our top pitching prospect, but due to a couple injuries, it kind of slowed his progression, and he's come up into the bullpen this year, and he's done very well, and I'm interested. Well, obviously he's done well enough to make the All-Star game as a relief pitcher, and I'm interested going forward enough to see if he'll remain in the bullpen given his performance this year, or if we'll eventually try to make him a starter again as he was when he was coming up through the minors. So, and then there are a couple of surprises. Like, I'm not surprised at the moment, but like if you told me prior to the season that Scott Kazmir and Mark Burley were going to be all-stars, I probably would have been a little bit skeptical. But they've had great years. In terms of the reserves, the AL infield reserves, Jose Abreu, Jose Altuve, Adrian Beltre, Edwin Encarnacion, those four players could easily be starters on an all-star team with the years they're having, and in terms of Beltre and Encarnacion, the years they've had in the past. Cespedes is a reserve in the outfield. He's doing great. Victor Martinez, 35, having a comeback year, putting up great numbers. So I can't argue with it too much. There's a couple little surprises. I would love to see Masahiro Tanaka as the starter for the game, but we are yet to see who will start for it. I know the game takes place in Minnesota this year, I believe, and there's only two Minnesota players, Kurt Suzuki and Glenn Perkins, that I've seen on the actual roster. Minnesota's not that great of a team, so I didn't expect it to be full of their players, but I mean, honestly, with the game in Minnesota, I would have liked to see Joe Mauer at least on as a reserve. I know he's been struggling this year, but oh wait, he's a first baseman now. I forgot he's not playing catcher anymore. I wouldn't.
Suzuki's there.
It would have been nice to see him get voted in, but if he was in over Miguel Cabrera, Jose Abreu, or Edwin Encarnacion, then most people would be more upset about that than they would be him being off the roster. So, sorry, Minnesota, but I think it's pretty straightforward on the AL team.
To start off, I'll say I heard and read that Tanaka will not start because he has a start scheduled for the 13th, which conflicts with the All-Star game. Not in terms of the same day, but within his pitching schedule, it doesn't work well. So the Yankees would have to accommodate that. And I don't think they will. I'm surprised that Mike Trout made it. He's not a good baseball player. He's not worth 3 keepers in a fantasy baseball league. 22 years old, 3 All-Star games. That's nothing. That's nothing. You know, an All-Star game every year of your career. Come on. There's better players out there. You got guys like Donaldson. I didn't know Donaldson was that old. Jeter won because he's Derek Jeter. Mark Burley got on there, and he can't pitch a fastball over 90 miles an hour, but he pitches perfect games all the time. Weird. King Felix deserves it. Scott Kazmir, what are you doing there? Jeez. You're old. You're never good. You were never good. Never was. Derek Norris. Derek Norris, I don't know who you are. Kurt Suzuki. You're replacing Mauer well, I guess. But the reserves, like Dylan said, Abreu, gonna win Rookie of the Year. Best power hitter maybe in baseball right now. Altuve, probably the best base stealer in baseball right now. Adrian Beltre, old man, still keeps hitting home runs. Encarnacion, I don't know why he does as well as he does. And Brandon Moss is a scrub. Complete scrub. I'm talking all this crap about Oakland Athletics. And to be honest, I don't know why he's there. He's a scrub. Like, I picked him up on fantasy baseball being like, oh, well, I need a first baseman, and he plays outfield too. That's a plus. And all of a sudden he's in an all-star game. I'm going to keep him around, I guess. And Jonas Cespedes made it as an outfielder instead of a DH, not because he didn't deserve DH, but because his arm is like a cannon. And those two throws he made from left field, or I don't remember which side of the field, it was left field, both of them, were so far, so accurate, he deserves to be on there as an outfielder. So, I don't know why he's not an everyday outfielder. Maybe he can't throw the ball that hard, that far, and that accurate all the time. Chris, have you kind of gotten an idea of the AL All-Star team and any opinion on it?
Well, there's a couple people who I know who they are. Obviously, you got Jeter. I know Cano, Cabrera. Yu Darvish, I've heard of. And that is where it kind of ends. Doolittle? No, that's basically just Dr. Doolittle. That's about it. Most of it, I would like to get back into baseball, but I don't know. I was looking at snubs here. I don't know if they're AL or NL though. I think that guy's NL. Let's see. Alexi Ramirez, Chicago White Sox, would he be AL? Apparently he was a snub. Nope, that's NL. A lot of NL people got snubbed apparently. So that's not good. Oh, this pitcher dude, roster. Oh, no, that's a wow. Chris Sale.
Oh, he isn't on here.
Yeah. They're saying that he has like ERA and all the other stats rival that of arguably the best pitcher on the planet, I guess. Clayton Kershaw or something. 87.1 innings pitched, 13 starts. Kershaw's 10-2. Chris Sale's 8-1. Chris Sale's ERA is 188. Kershaw's 192. But Chris Sale did not make the All-Star list. I don't know what most of that means.
Why is Scott Kazmir on this list and not Chris Sale? Dylan, I'm
Well,
posing you this question.
I actually Googled Scott Kazmir when you said Scott Kazmir, what are you doing here? You're bad. This year he's 10-3 with a 2.53 ERA, 1.01 WHIP. He's having a great year. He's Oakland's best pitcher right now. That being said, would I put him on over Sale? Probably not. I'm a big Chris Sale fan, although I did just trade him in fantasy to Andy. But Chris Sale does have an opportunity to make the team I was gonna wait till after we were completely done with this to mention this, but every year they do a thing where it's called a final vote, and there's 5 players from each the NL and the AL, and they let the fans vote for the final player to be added on the roster of the team. And in the AL, Chris Sale is one of the 5 nominees. And in the NL, I hadn't thought of this previously as a snub, but this guy is great. Anthony Rizzo is eligible for the final vote in the NL. And honestly, Sale and Rizzo are my picks to win the final vote. I think they're both great. I traded both of them within 2 days of in fantasy baseball, but had to do it. But they should be on the team. I mean, the other players in the AL, it's Dallas Keuchel from Houston, Corey Kluber, Rick Porcello, Garrett Richards, or Chris Sale. National League, Casey McGehee, Justin Morneau, Anthony Rendon, Anthony Rizzo, Justin Upton. So my picks would be Rizzo and Sale. I might vote for that at some point later tonight. I did vote for the actual roster. I don't remember. I think I vote. I don't know how many times. It might have been like 5 times, which is probably nothing because people, I'm sure, max it out at whatever the limit is that they allow. But
Did you vote Chris Sale when you voted?
I don't remember, to be completely honest.
Dylan's part of the problem. He didn't vote Chris Sale in. He's got to make him go through all this crap. I want Sale and McGehee to make it because McGee's on my fantasy team and he's garbage and he shouldn't be in the All-Star game. But Chris, I feel like I should ask you this question and kind of escape baseball. And because you weren't here for the Josh Gordon thing, I should ask you because you are part of the. Well, your thing is talking about sports players doing dumb things. And Josh Gordon did a dumb thing yesterday and got a DWI under his suspension for a year. You're the Cleveland Browns. What do you do with Josh Gordon? And what do you think is Josh Gordon's problem? Like, what the hell is going on with Josh Gordon?
Honestly, I think Josh Gordon is just extremely immature. Um, he's obviously got some issues there, and he needs someone to step into his life and help him out. The Browns, I think they need to show their support and help the guy out, but I don't see him coming back and playing. I really don't. It's disappointing because that guy has golden talent. Like, every few years, you see a wide receiver or a running back come out of the draft who just has everything. And Josh Gordon is that player. The last player that did it was Calvin Johnson. Came out and knew immediately this guy is going to be the greatest wide receiver in the league. Josh Gordon had that talent, but his work ethic and all that stuff, obviously him messing up all the time, his immaturity, not realizing that, he's got a good thing going and he doesn't need to do all the crap. Messes with him. So if I'm the Browns, I give him support, but I don't know. Can you release a guy just because he got arrested, or would you have to? I don't know, because I know he's already up for suspension this month. His hearing, but yeah, that's a thing. Um, uh,
I looked over his history. Since 2010, he has been suspended 5 times in his career. He got suspended in his sophomore year in college, for being caught in a car with one of his teammates smoking pot. Then in 2011, he got kicked out of Baylor by his coach, well, kicked off the team for failing a drug test. 2012, he got suspended for failing a drug test, which resulted in a 2-game suspension to start last season. Fourth incident got him this year's 1-year suspension. And the 5th incident happened yesterday, so he's an idiot. Yeah, so kind of exhausted our topics today, Kiko and Joshua. I guess I'm going to ask Chris because Chris came on late. I'm going to ask him about Kiko. What's your opinion on the Kiko Alonso situation? What do you think the Bills are going to do about it? Do you think they're going to stay within, or do you think they're going to go outside and try and find somebody to replace him?
Honestly, I think they're going to stay within. I know Preston Brown looked really good in training camp, so, or not training camp, like the OTAs and all that good stuff. So hopefully he can step in. They were both third-round picks. A lot of people don't remember that. Kiko was a third-round pick. They just think, this guy's got what it takes. So they expect him that he was higher, but you never know. Plus, we've got other guys. We've got Manny Lawson still. We've got Brandon Spikes, and who's that other guy? Everyone hates him. What's his name? Oh, Nigel Bradham. Nigel Bradham. Everyone hates on Nigel Bradham, but I heard a stat the other day that Nigel, well, not the other day, a couple weeks ago, in an interview, Nigel Bradham rarely misses tackles. Like when he doesn't get a lot of tackles, but when he tackles you, you're going down. Like 99.7 of his attempted tackles are successful. So Nigel Bradham was one of the unheard of, unsung heroes of the Bills. So I don't know. I think we have talent in our linebacking crew, and bringing in Spikes and keeping Lawson and all those guys, it's going to end up paying off. Is it going to be a blow to this team? Obviously. Kiko is, he's just amazing. Like the ignition, he's got some great fire in him. And it's going to hurt our team, but I think we have enough talent to kind of be okay.
It's going to be rough, in my opinion. But yeah, I thought Preston Brown would be a good replacement. The Manny Lawson, Jerry Hughes thing. I have something for you if you want it. Dylan, I guess it's about time we get to our final word, as we're probably 59 minutes in, almost over an hour here. We talked about our topics, and yeah, so I think it's final word time. That was the Golden Sports Word episode 76. So Dylan, what is your final word?
Alright, since we were able to actually use baseball as a topic today, I don't have to use that, and I'm going to use your guys' other favorite sport, soccer. So, there are two things I want to talk about briefly. The first one is that we are down to 4 remaining teams in the World Cup, and the first game, it will be on Tuesday. It's Brazil versus Germany. And on Wednesday, we will see the Netherlands versus Argentina. Both should be pretty good games. In my opinion, if you like soccer, Both should be pretty good games. Personally, I'd be more excited about the Netherlands-Argentina game because of what I'm going to talk about next. In their most recent match, Brazil suffered a big loss by way of one of their star players, Neymar, going down with an injury. I don't know if any of you guys or anybody watching the show had seen the play. I'm sure you can find it all over the internet. But he got kneed in the back, and he immediately fell to the ground. And I never saw the play in real time, so I don't know how hard or how fast the guy was coming in. But in slow motion, I was like, oh, he should be fine. He got kneed in the back. He'll get up in a couple minutes and be okay. But a couple minutes later, they put him on a stretcher, carried him off, and it turns out he broke a vertebra in his back from the knee. So it's not all diving. He's he's probably one of Brazil's best players, but it's a serious injury. Obviously, you don't really want to see that kind of injury happen to anybody, especially at this level. I mean, Neymar's only 22 years old, and he's already one of the best players on the Brazilian soccer team, which Brazil's always one of the best, it seems. So it just so happened in the quarterfinals that he goes down with an injury in front of his home crowd, and things are going to be. I think that makes things a lot more difficult for Brazil to advance to the finals. They're already facing a very tough opponent in Germany. We saw them firsthand as the U.S. faced them, and they've been strong throughout the whole tournament. So I know people have mixed feelings on Neymar. A lot of people don't like him and stuff, but I mean, you don't wish this upon anybody. Hopefully, he'll recover and be able to play in the next World Cup and resume his professional soccer career. I believe he plays in Barcelona when he's not with the national team. So, exciting things. Soccer. It's Tuesday and Wednesday are the games. Then I believe, I want to say Saturday and Sunday will be Saturday being the game for third and fourth place, and Sunday I would imagine being the finals. So if you don't like soccer, it's almost over, but if you like soccer, this is the most exciting time, and it's looking like there should be a couple really good games. And that's my final word.
Soccer. Oh, soccer. Most played sport in the world. I'm rooting for the Netherlands because it just seems the Netherlands don't win anything, and it's like, well, they're good at soccer. It seems like Argentina is always in there, and it's like, oh well, how about the Netherlands this time? So yeah. Chris, are you good for a final word, or you want me to go next and you go last?
I got it. Just some more good old football players being idiots. I saw quite a few suspensions. I got a bunch of updates about them the past couple days, and I did notice this one that you sent me. I did notice that Deion Jordan was suspended for 4 games for violating the NFL's PED violation. He was a 3rd overall pick in 2013, and basically, let's see, basically, yeah, he tested positive for stimulants that are banned under the NFL policy. He's taking full responsibility for the test results. He's pretty much just being like, yeah, I was an idiot, and I'm sorry, and it's going to have a bad effect on my team and on my teammates. So it's one of those things where he's being an idiot, but he's like he's owning up to it. I don't know. He's yeah. Basically, he's gonna. He had a pretty disappointing rookie season. He didn't play very well, and he didn't get any starts, and he only had 2 sacks, so that sucks. But yeah, like just suspended for 4 games because he's an idiot and took performance-enhancing drugs. You know you can't take those, so there's no point in trying. He got caught, and obviously he's owning up to it, which is good, but he still did it. So that's my final word. Keep me up to date.
Sad part is he had 2 sacks, and obviously he was on steroids. So I thought
Yeah,
that was
he couldn't even perform without or with steroids. So
it's bust. Bust. Third overall bust. Um, yeah. Football players doing dumb things. NASCAR race today. They were supposed to race last night, but it was raining, so they decided not to. Um, I don't think they're going to race in the rain much ever. They tried to. They didn't try to. They accidentally raced in the rain on Thursday. Like, you can do that on a road course, but on a circle, it doesn't work quite as well. So, Nationwide's going 200 miles an hour, and all of a sudden it starts raining, and no one said anything, and 7 cars went sliding through the rain at 200 miles an hour and wrecked. And NASCAR was like, okay, we aren't messing with the rain this weekend. So they completely said yesterday, race is not happening. It's supposed to rain tonight. We are not even trying it. Today, well, they started at 11 o'clock and it rained 6 laps in. And then they're like, well, shit. We have to get to 100 laps. So they kind of just, when they drive the track, they'd race like 40 laps and then it would rain again. Race 40 laps, rain. Okay, well, there were 2 big wrecks this race. There was a 16-car wreck and a 25-car wreck. I have not seen the accidents yet because I didn't watch the race. Apparently, the second one, Kyle Busch went upside down. Jamie McMurray was in the air for like 10 seconds and things like that. So, must have been pretty crazy at 200 miles an hour, people going upside down. Kyle Busch compared being upside down to being on a slow carnival ride. I don't know how 200 miles an hour going up, flipping your car, barrel rolling your car, can be a slow carnival ride. So, he must have hit his head or something. But the feel good part of the day, only 7 cars didn't at least get into one of these 2 accidents. But of course, 30 cars were at the end racing for the win. But the 43 car won the race. The most prestigious number in the history of NASCAR. The last time it won a race was 1999. Richard Petty Motorsports won on a circle. Eric Almirola won the rain-shortened race, 120 laps in. The rain came out, and when they looked at the radar and the rain didn't look like it'd stop anytime soon, they said, all right, race is over. We're past halfway. 43 wins. It is the 30th anniversary since Richard Petty won his 200th win, which was his last win. So that's a big deal. 200 wins in a career. That's outstanding. That's a record that'll never be broken. Second place has 104. That's like Wayne Gretzky's point record. Nobody's even 700 or 800 points within it, ever. Or 92 goals in a season. No one will ever get 92 goals in a season. And nobody's ever going to have 200 wins in a NASCAR career. Um, that also means a lot for the team. They make the chase. With this new format, you win a race, you're pretty much in. And the 43 car will be in the championship playoffs, and it'll be the first time that they're even close to contention, probably since Richard Petty drove it 30 years ago. So that's pretty incredible. I'm going to watch the accidents right after the show. So that's the thing. But yeah, Eric Almirola won the race. Daytona wild card. So yeah. And that's my final word. And, as I said earlier, that's pretty much the Golden Sports Report for today, episode 76. We talked about Kiko. We talked about Josh Gordon. We talked about baseball. And yeah, so thank you for watching. Like, comment, favorite, subscribe. Our views keep going up. I say it every time. We really appreciate your views. As we showed on our last episode, we will read your comments and we will talk about them. You just have to comment and tell us what you want us to talk about. We're more than gladly willing to do it. We know some of you watch our mock drafts and then kind of hook on and watch more, and we appreciate that. Hope you don't mind. They were mainly Buffalo, but we try and spread our wings a little bit and take in everything around the league and give our opinions on that. But yeah, thank you for watching. That's the episode. Bye.
Peace out.
Adios.